What if you could multiply your energy, control, eliminate, or reverse depression, sadness, fatigue, unwanted weight gain or loss, dizziness, and stress? You can when you know how to reverse the DNA cellular damage inside you. Now, 75% of the US population has an alien living inside them that's causing cyclical depression, sadness, and fatigue. And if you don't have the energy you used to, or you're gaining weight or can't gain weight, it's probably caused by one simple thing you're going to learn about in this interview. A #1 best-selling author, DNA thought leader, and functional medicine practitioner, Louise Johnson is going to share how you can get more performance from your body, more energy, stronger muscles, better sleep, and feel happier and more motivated when you understand the 5 types of DNA. Thank you for being here, Louise Johnson.
And thank you for this opportunity.
All right, so someone very special got you into the world of medicine. Why don't you share that story?
Yes, that was my father, and he was very, very strong as a young man. In fact, his biceps were so big, I used to just enjoy pretending I had those when I was little. And as he grew older, when he was 66, although he took great care of his health, what happened was he ended up with a severe autoimmune disease, and his doctors said, no one has lived more than a year with this diagnosis. And he said, I'm possible, we'll see. Those were his 2 famous phrases. 6 years later, he funded money to help find the cure for an impossible diagnosis. So he took that impossible and made it possible. And he gave me that mantle and that legacy. And now I want to help others because I understand the hope that he found in doing this. I want to give it to others.
All right, now one of the ways you do that, and you talk about this in your book, The DNA of Hope, we'll get into the 5 types in a moment, but you've worked with an enormous number of patients over the years. So I want you to share an example of one of them that you worked with, and one of them is an executive. Her name was Jill.
Okay. Jill was very special. And special because she had a problem that dumbfounded us in the very beginning. So she came to us with diverticulosis.
And what is that for people who don't know what it is?
That is a colon problem and a gut problem, and she really spent most of her time in the bathroom. She was losing weight, which made her lose performance at work, so sales went down, and she was in big trouble. So she became more and more fatigued, and the disease kept creeping up on her cyclically more and more often. So she knocked on the door of our clinic, and we were there for her, and we did our typical initial survey and checking her DNA power and a number of other things. But we had to realize that her aim, her goal in life, was to retire and to teach. And that told me a lot about her, which we'll come to at the end. So when we did her studies, we found she was really okay in that. We added one more study, which was relatively new on the market, revolutionary, and that was the U-biome. So we studied her microbiome, which is the sum total of bacteria within you, 99% of you. We found a pathogen, which is it was like an alien in her gut that took 1/3 of her gut, 30% of it, 30%. It was stealing her food, leaving her weak, and then it was sending its tendrils of illness all through her body.
All right, and I know before we were doing this interview, you told me the percentage of people who you see in your clinic who have this exact same problem. What percentage of the population has this in your experience?
There are many, many pathogens, so we have to widen that scope a little bit, but we see over 70% of our clients have different pathogenic, different aliens in their gut. And Is this the thing that is driving disease? My hardest clients, that is the common denominator. Do the ubiome, do the microbiome, and we find it.
Wow. And so what were you able to do, and then what happened to her life after that?
Well, we were able to manage to take care of that bacteria, to calm it down and get it to 3% by natural methods. And then she got her energy back. She was able to eat and start repairing her body. And then she decided not to retire, but to actually grow her business and stay in it, because now she felt extraordinary.
So just by fixing her gut actually changed her brain, and oftentimes a lot of the way people feel and the way they're thinking, their emotions are driven by what's going on in the gut.
We're all connected inside.
Okay, so that leads us to, you've been working with a lot of professional athletes as well. So why don't you share the story about Dennis?
Dennis was an elite athlete, and he came to us angry, sad, depressed, because he could not do the sport that he really wanted to do. And he was having more injuries, being just so much fatigue, extreme fatigue. And his aim was the Olympic gold. So we knew we had to do a lot to turn his health around. So when we studied him and his DNA and his cellular power, we found he was down about 80%. So that's pretty bad. And how he could function daily, we didn't know. But as we continued to study, we found out through his genetics that he had a number of fat genes that were low power. So we speak of genes in low power and high power, and his were all low power. Well, we need our fat because it's 80% of the brain, because it makes our hormones, because our mitochondria can't work without fat. So we helped him transport fat into his cells with particular supplements, and through that, after about 2 months, boom, he was able to get his energy back and get back on his program. Injuries were a lot less. He was repairing his body again, and he got his gold medal.
So he got an Olympic gold.
He got the Olympic gold.
So in your experience, people who are either gaining a lot of weight or losing a lot of weight or experiencing a lot of emotional ups and downs like he was, how common is that? How frequent is that in the U.S. population and the patients that you see?
Well, we see that about 100% of our clients have that. But when I look at this particular gene, 100% of our clients in the clinic have this particular gene that is low functioning. That was revolutionary to me. I wasn't aware that we don't have the transport ability to take fat into the cell, and we can repair that.
Okay, so and now let's talk a little bit about, you've also, again, going back to another professional athlete, which is Gary, who's a professional golf pro and a pro instructor.
Yes.
What happened with him?
Gary was not only a pro instructor, but his game was his life. And when he started with facial swelling, feet swelling, hand swelling, fatigue, severe fatigue, rashes, he knew that something was growing within him. Something was very off. So when he came to us, we asked his aim, and he was too tired to tell us what he even wanted to do in life. He wanted to quit. That's all he wanted to do. He was just too tired. So we did a number of things with him, and one was develop an extreme support team to give him the support he needed around him to help with some of the lifestyle, particularly food, etc. And then we started looking at his metabolism, his cellular power, and his DNA power, and we found some very, very interesting things. His cell power was quite low. In fact, probably one of the lowest that we've seen. But his ability to absorb fat and protein was very, very minimal. In fact, it was almost equal to what we would see in a celiac or people that have genes that can't tolerate wheat or gluten. He was not celiac, but he had the same syndrome. So what we did is we started with very different types of foods, etc., to grow back his gut. Now, this was a man who ate processed fast food 100% of the time. And when we changed that, we were able to regrow a gut. And for him, that made the hugest difference because now he is back on the circuit.
It's impressive. So one of the things that you've been able to do through the work with your DNA and being able to analyze what's going on is you can just detect these small things that make a massive difference. And again, being able to isolate, in your case, like the alien that lives inside you,
Yes.
or the way you process fat, or just being able to grow the gut back to, and restore it so you get your energy back for people to come in.
Right.
But you've alluded to the fact that there are 5 types of DNA. So can you explain what those are and how those relate to us ordinary people?
Okay. As a DNA thought leader, what I want to do is look at the DNA world and see what's within us. So there are 5, and most people only know of 1. Our very first one is what we inherit from our parents. So that's our genetics. The second one is our mitochondrial DNA. And the mitochondria have their own DNA. Mitochondria make our energy, etc. Then there's the bacterial DNA that we talked about with Jill. That is 99% of us. So that's revolutionary. The fourth kind is the infectious DNA. Our infections intertwine with our genetics. And if we could look at it under a very good microscope, we would see inherited DNA, we would see viruses, we would see fungi, we would see these all intertwined on our DNA strands, and it's fascinating.
And what does that mean when you understand these? How does that help you diagnose and treat people?
Well, it helps me understand with the 4 types of DNA, but because there's so much revolutionary and creative power in those that I want to understand them, I want to look at them, I want to see the symptoms that they create, I want to look at the cellular power that we can restore. And what I see in the first 8 minutes in talking with my clients about their aim is that we are restoring the 5th type of DNA, and that is the DNA of hope. And it is so amazing walk into your cellular body, and I love it, but to talk about the DNA of hope, to go from impossible to possible, and that's what this book is all about. It's about impossible people who created possible results, and I hope the stories tear your heart and give you the DNA of hope.
All right, so where can someone find out, first of all, get a copy of your book, learn more about you, hire you to work with them, either directly or also hire you as a keynote speaker, or bring you into their organization so you can make the organization healthy, not just the executives too? Where do they go?
Okay, they go to my website, dnaofhope.com, and fill out the forms, and you'll receive a free copy of the book. And there are some gifts on that site also.
All right, so the next step is yours to take. Very easy. Just head on over to Ann Louise Johnson's website, which is dnaofhope.com. There you'll get her book and all the goodies too. Thank you so much for being here.